Good afternoon, everyone. As we will start our report today, we will going to pray first. Dear Lord, as we start our class and report today, please give us more learning, help us to be thankful, always lead us not into temptation, help us to listen and also to obey your word. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Again, good afternoon, sir. Especially to my classmates, good afternoon. And we are the group 2. Thank you for giving this opportunity, sir, that you've given to us the topic. I introduce myself. I am Sheina Leonado as the introduction speakers. So for now, I will introduce my group members reporting, and they are Colin Alfonso, CRISTELLE CORDOVA, ELAIZA TANILON, ERLYN Jane ASUMBRADO, FATIMA LEMOSNIRO, JUDY ALIMA, MAECA CANOY, DUGCOT, RHEALOU RENDOQUE. The last name is Rosemary SANICO. So, for now, these are topic today that we are going to report. What is registers? Anybody? What do you mean for that? How about the registers variables? What is that? The fields. Oh my god, what is the fields? The mood. The tenor. How about the varieties according to subject matter? The varieties according to attitude. What is style? Style in writing. Have idea? Have any idea what is the style in writing? The last one is the style in speech. Okay, speech are common. What do you mean? What is the speech? Okay. Later, we know about this topic that we will going to discuss. Learning objective. Scholars will have a clean understanding of registers of language, will be able to distinguish between different registers, and will be able to utilize these registers for more effective communication. So, meaning, basically, being able to clearly communicate in different situations, in knowing which type of a language to use in those different situations. Okay, what is registers? What is registers? What is registers? Okay. When we say registers, it refers to a variety of language according to use. It is a subset of language used for a particular purpose in a partial social settings. Again, it is a subset of language used for a particular purpose in a partial social settings. So I have here the example. The Wikipedia dictionary. That is the example for the purpose settings. The settings of dictionary. The page. Yes, the page. The main point. Yes, the main point. The details. Of course, the details. Okay, next. The term registers was first used by the linguist and Thomas Reed in 1956. So meaning, Thomas Reed in 1956, he was a linguist who first used, take note, Thomas Reed in 1956, he was a linguist who first used the term of registers. So, it later brought currency in the 1960s by linguists who wanted to differentiate between variations of a language according to user and variations of language according to use. Each user of a language has a range of varieties from which he chooses to reflect the social reality. Social Reality in Halliday et al. 1964. Because, they wanted to know and recognize the differences between the variations in language according the user and the difference between the language according to use. So meaning, this means that the use of each language has a set or individuals of difference, which is where he choose what the truth social reality. Or each speaker has a range of varieties in choices between them at different times. So you need to focus is on the way language is used in a particular situation. Okay. Next one is the variations of language. So any given language varies from region to region. Yes, this is the important that we all know that the language varies is from region to region. This is the connection from social class to social class. Or there is essential and unlimited number of factors, meaning factors the truth which create this situation, the location of birth, the residence, and education, or a situation to situation, and from person to person. Other words is the social in age. Okay, that is the variations of language. The next is the variations of language, the users and the use are assumed to be related both to the language users and the use. Varieties related to the users are normally known as a dialect. So the users are known as a dialect. The varieties according to use is related as registers. So the users is known as dialect, while the use is related as a register. Or a situation to situation, that is related of variations of language, the user in the use. So user, take note, user are normally known as dialect. It is normally. And the varieties according to use is related as register. The next, in Halliday et al. 1964, there are three variables that determine registers. Okay, the number one is the field, the tenor, and the mood. When we say the field, that is the subject. When we say the field, that is the subject or matter of the discourse. How about the tenor? The tenor is the participants. The tenor is the participants and their relationship. So it is the connection, the participants and their relationship. The mood. The mood is the channel of communication. The mood is the channel of communication. Example, the spoken, the written. Okay? The spoken and written, that is the example of mood. Registers, therefore, refers to varieties used for different occasion. specialize, and vocabulary and grammar. So meaning therefore refers to variations of different occasions. The birthday, that is the sample of the variations of registers. The meaning of registers, the example of registers, the birthday, the party, or etc. And characterized by specialized the grammar and vocabulary, or what is your characters that you can specialize the grammar in your vocabulary mind. So you need to take note, guys, that is very example of registers that will be using in the occasions, the party, the birthday, or etc. Next, example of registers. Legal language. When we say legal language, that is the legalese is used when speaking or reading or writing issues, or when the context of language is legal one. So meaning, when we say legal language, that is the only one, like the married. So you are the legal of married. So meaning legal one, it is the only one. So next is language of journalism. Means journalist is used in the context of journalism. That is the language of journalism is used in the context. Next, other registers is included. That is the includes of baby talk. When we say baby talk, the baby talk registers used by adults when speaking with children, like hello, good afternoon, children. That is the baby talk. Scientific reports registers used in reporting scientific research. Okay, when you are going to report in scientific, so you should have the scientific research. You can research the meaning of the science, research about the what is the purpose of the science. Then that is the sample of scientific report. How about the cookery? Okay, cookery registers used when talking or writing about the cookery. Okay, there is one of cookery is you have to guide what is the procedures, what is the meaning of these ingredients, what is the recipients. So you need to write the purpose, you need to write the procedures. That is the cookery registers used when talking or writing about cookery. What is the purpose? Okay, next. Other one is load registers. It is used that you can register a load on the cell phone, like 8080, 8080, 8080. Then the 8080, they will going to send the you are the successful of your load, just like that. I have that is the one of example of registers. That is the includes. Other words is the job registers. To have your own job. Forms of registers. Yes, that is used for you can vote in the politics. Okay, the president, you can vote the iski. That is the included of registers the form. The next is how do we start to analyze registers? So when we keep in our mind that we are going to analyze, what is registers? How I can analyze? Okay, how do we start to analyze registers? So when you're really looking at it and trying to determine what are the function, what is trying to be relayed, where should you say certain things, or where might you hear different types of language, or even within your writing. First, you need to stop and look at the situation. So it all depends on the situation. Okay. There are the depending on the situations. The next is to look first at the components of situation. So first is you're going to look first at the components of the situation. Like what is actually taking place? Is it a party? Is it a surveys? Is it a lecture? Is it a presentation? Is it a time for play? Not only are you looking at what is the taking place, you're thinking about where is this taking place? Is it taking place in someone's home? Is this person? You know, this home of a really good friend of your, or is it someone whom you've just met? Is there taking place in a park? Is it taking place in a church? Is it taking place, in an office? You're also going to who is taking part in what is their relationship. Okay. Next is the example. What is actually taking place, where, who is taking part, what is the relationship. I'm sorry guys for that. What is the relationship, what parts is language playing. So we go back to our discussion. You're also going to who is taking part in what is their relationship, who is talking and who is listening, in what is their relationship. Are they parent child? Is it brother sisters? Is a teacher scholar? Is it a scholar? Is it? So we're looking at what is the relationship, who is involved in the situation for communication. Okay, what part, other words, is what part is language playing. So is the language trying to make situations clear? Is it means as a joke? Is it means to provide support for someone? Is it meant to make somebody laugh? So you have to think. You need to think of what is the part of the language is actually playing. One things to consider your social settings. So when we say social settings, you're looking again to considering the social settings. Like, where are you? Where are you? The situations, what's happening? The address or the persons who is speaking. The address, see? The persons to whom is being spoken, or the person who's listening. And the topic, what is the topic? What is the topic? You know what is the topic? So, what would be appropriate for the topic, and at that time, the who, the what, the when, the where. That is the part of register that being a consider. Okay? The next is registers, refers to the variations in language which reflect the particular situations, the goals of the communication, the relationship between the speakers. What do you mean the power, the education, the intimacy? That is, the registers refers to the variations in language which reflects. So you're looking when we talk about language registers, we're talking about the variations or the changes in language which would reflect or show the particular situations, the goals of communication. What are you trying to do in the relationship between the speakers? Okay, the speakers you can usually tell of it's a professional relationship. If it's a close relationship, it is a business or a more formal situation with reflect between the speakers. Is it equal in power? So power, do they have the same power? Is it equal in education? Is it equal in intimacy? And we're going to be looking at intimacy and how that means that. That is the person, when we say intimacy, that is the person whom you are very close with. All right. So when we talk and look at the types of register. So the type of registration. So the first is the first levels, the highest on the grid. That will be the frozen. Okay. Frozen, the traditionals does not change. Or printed, unchanging, language, formal, almost scripted phrases that do not vary. Example, the printed or the Bible. So also take note, when you think of something that is frozen, you can think of the fact, the truth, the fact of something that does not change. So when we say frozen, does not change, no changes, that is the fact. So example of frozen, the registers would be printing on printed, unchanging, language, it's very formal, almost scripted phrases that do not vary. For example, it would be our more values. Those would be an example of frozen registers. Also the Bible. So when we say the Bible does not change, the pledge of elegance is very formal and it does not change. The laws are also within the frozen, no changes. Frozen language, the preamble to the Constitution, the national anthem. These are all example of frozen language. They do not change. Again, the frozen is they do not change and they are very formal. The next is the formal. One-way communication, no interruptions, use in impersonal, formal settings. Follow a commonly accepted formal complete sentences. More complex syntax and specific words usage, often used to show respect. Examples, introductions between strangers, the rhetorical statements and questions, speech pronouncement made by the judge, announcement standard for work, school, public offices, and business settings. Okay, when we say formal, this is a one-way communication with no interruption. So this is one-way communication with no interruption. Use an impersonal formal settings. If you're in a lecture, that would be an example of a formal register of communication. So follows a commonly accepted formal. Use complete sentences. For more complete is the syntax and specific words usage or more complex syntax. So basically, when you're putting together your sentences and your words using those a higher level, so you need to think of even when you're giving presentation in class, that's one-way communication, that there are no interruptions, where you should be using complete sentence and really be specific with your word choice. It's often used to show respect. You need to respect when the President of the United States give a speech or the State of the Union address. That would be an example of formal register. The formal register. In introductions of formal communications between strangers, a rhetorical statement and question speech. The pronunciations made by judge. Announcements. Your standard for work, school, public office, and business sent sitting, so that you're formal. When we look at here at rhetorical statements and questions, those are statements or questions that you're not really expecting an answer, that how it falls into the formal category, because you're not having somebody respond back in the conversation. Okay? The next is the consultative. When we see the consultative, there are the two-way participations, professional settings. The background information is provided prior knowledge is not assumed. Interruptions and feedback, fillers allowed. Oh, huh? I see. So more complex sentence, longer phrases. Example: doctor, patient, lawyer, the client, lawyer, judge, teacher, student, superior, subordinate, the college peers. So, the mother, the children. Okay? That is the consultative. You need to consult. When we say the consultative registers, is that two-way participants' professional settings where background information is provided, the prior knowledge is not assumed. So an example of this one would be when we're in the classroom, if we're involved in a lesson, and I'm expecting you to not only follow along but then also ask question or provide the information throughout the lesson. That would be an example of consultative language. Other way is the interruptions and feedback. fillers are allowed. That means that when someone's speaking to you, you could throw in your every once while, "Oh, ha, oh, I see. On, I follow what you're saying." This has a more complex syntax and longer phrases, so your sentences are going to be of the more extensive. They're going to be of the more professional's level, but it's not going to be in that present category where you're not expecting someone to, or in the formal either, or you're not expecting someone to respond. So example of this would be your doctors, a judge relationship, your teacher student relationship, those involved in a classroom at any time. That would be a consultative register. So it's very basic when we say consultative. The patient, the lawyer, the teacher, the superior, that is the consultative of doctor, the consultative of doctor, the patient, the consultative of lawyer, the client, the consultative of lawyer, the judge, the consultative of teacher, students, the superior, the subordinate, the colleagues, and the peers. So, number 4 is the casual registers. When we say the casual registers, that is the language used by the majority of Americans. Most of the time, a vocabulary of 500 to 600 words. Oh, on the appropriate of communication between casual friends, the acquaintances, example, the vernacular. So when we see the casual registers in American, that is the majority of them, their vocabulary is needed to write the 500 words to appropriate and communicate between the casual friends, so, and acquaintances. So example of that is the vernacular. Again, the casual registers is the language used by the majority of American most of the time. So, of a vocabulary of 500 to 600 words appropriate in communication. So basically, it is very important in casual registers by Americans. So therefore, the majority of their vocabulary is by using or to make a 500 to 600 words to appropriate their communication between their friends or many people. So that is the casual registers. So the last part is the intimate registers, language of twins. So when we say intimate registers, that is the language of twins, the best friends, the family members. For me, is the social members, includes slang, the profanity, inside joke, only appropriate the most intimate settings. So basically, intimate registers, therefore, that is the meaning of there are the connections of the groups, okay? The groups, the twins, the best friends, your best friends, my best friends, the family members, the social groups you are going to socialize with each other. Includes the slang. How about the Mansaka? They have a groups, the Mandaya. They have a groups too, the Muslim, there is the groups, they have a groups that they are unite with each other. So the profanity inside jokes only appropriate in the most intimate settings. So again, intimate registers language of twins. The twins. Language of twins, the best friends, that is the intimate registers. So the next is the end. I hope you will understand my reports and you have more learning, the knowledge, and you cope the understanding to my discussion today. And I hope that God's willing to give us more our thinking, our critical thinking to analyze of what is all the meaning that we need to know about this topic, the registers or other things that they wanted to know everything. Okay. Thank you for this opportunity, guys. Thank you so much, sir. It's very appreciated. I hope, guys, that you will be appreciate my report today. And thank you always, and God bless at all. So again, as we will close my reports, I will pray. Lord, in this my report today, please guide, please as we done my report, please guide my other reporting groups. It gives more knowledge. So God, thank you for the time, thank you for everything that you've always there to us to give more learning. And our teacher also, it gives more learning that I will be give report of here. I hope they will understand my report. Thank you so much, Lord. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Thank you, guys, and God bless you at all. Thank you, guys. Bye. And see you the next of my reports.
Good afternoon, everyone. To my classmates, especially to our very kind teacher, Sir JETT. So I continue discuss the reporting of Sheina Leonado about the topic of registered. What is registered? Many definition of registered. Register operate in a continuum rather than discrete varieties. This means that there can be overlap in usage in different registers. It is, however, clear that each register has its distinctive linguistic characteristic. Most of the expressions we use in ordinary daily interactions, we have specialized usage in some registers. For instance, the word minor in an ordinary sense means not important when compared with other things of the same type. However, in the legal register, it refers to someone who has not reached the age of which they are legally adult. Additional expanded about registered. Register, to record information about something in a book or a system of public and official written record, or names or events or transactions, to refer to particular varieties or sites or speaking and writing. In linguistic, that register is defined all the way spoken speaker uses language differently in different circumstances. These varieties informally also called stylistic. Variations are known as registered in linguistics. They are determined by such factors as social occasion, context, purpose, and audience. Some words with an ordinary meaning and their specialized meaning of some English registered. In the column, they are word example and meaning and also specialized usage and important in our topic registered. Here the example. Word, every meaning, specialized usage, and registered. And a word, example, notebook. In every meaning, a book for recording notes, specialized usage, a portable computer, and registered computing. And a word, shoot, every meaning, to send or from a weapon, specialized usage, to hit or propel the ball towards the goal, registered sports. Witness, a person who observed an event. Specialized usage, a person who preaches the word of God, registered religion. Freeze, when liquid turns to solid, that is an everyday meaning about freeze. And specialized usage, to legally stop the supply of money to somebody, registered banking. And then, alas, share, a part of the total number of something, one of the equal parts of the company that you can buy. No? So, registered stock exchange. I give meaning a word and specialized usage. The word is different use depending on cases of situation. A specialized language is the language used in a specific field or relevant to and characteristic of an industry. Is also intended to mean what that differs from the general language by specialized expressions and specific terminology. Like, for example, register or registrar. Like a school, every school, they have a registered or identity or record. Good moral, card 137, we give it to our school, submit to school, registrar, di ba? Or we registered in RHEALOU, enrolled to the school of KNP. For another example, in every municipal, they have also registered on our birth certificate and also voters death certificate, marriage contract, and that is registered, emphasized and expanded about the topic of registered. And that's it. Thank you for listening and understand my report, and God bless us all.
Register variables. Register is generally determined by what is taking place, who is taking part, and what part the language is playing. Now, every variable has its own data type and value assigned to it. Same as well in making in which any given situation we are going to use situational features or variables that influence language. That is why Holiday in 1985 says that language study cannot be successfully fulfilled without considering the situation of context, for it is constrained and influenced by the situation of context. As to Holiday, the context of situation obtained through a systematic relationship between the social environment on the one hand and the functional organization of language on the other hand, which can be best understood in terms of register. That is why Holiday particularly developed the three main parameters which are useful for characterizing the nature of social interaction of participants. And those three main parameters are field, mode, and tenor. If you are going to ask, why do we need these variables? Simple. We need these three contextual features or variables because these three variables are intended to help us to link the linguistic analysis to the relevant contextual factors. because Halliday believed that the discourse of any kind of materials can be presented by the context of situation, which can be best understood in terms of these three features, namely field, mode, and tenor. These three features meaningful in constructing an idea but about text, reasons, and purposes, as well as its structure and adequate use of language in the text. Therefore, from the perspective of these three interacting aspects of context, this paper will analyze the stylistic features of the poem entitled Neutral Tones by Thomas Hardy. This poem is about a failed love, or exactly to say that it's about the ruin of love. Neutral Tones excellently exemplifies Hardy's semi-dark period, which express a gloomier tone. So, in order to analyze this poem, you should consider the three interacting aspects of context, which are field, mode, and tenor, in order for the viewers or the listeners or the readers to have a straight view upon the language itself, the function, as well as the structure of the content. And that's it, the introduction of the register variables. Next topic, you will know the three contextual features or variables that will be discussed by my co-reporter.
Field. The field of discourse refers to what the text is all about, what is happening, or the subject matter of the discourse. The field is most clearly reflected in the lexical items chosen and sometimes the way the language is structured. For instance, if two people are discussing agriculture, their vocabulary will reflect the topic. Agriculture describes the practice of growing crops or raising animals. Someone who works as a farmer in the agriculture industry. The Latin root of agriculture is agri or field, plus cultura, cultivation, cultivating of a piece of land, or planting and growing food plants on it. Is largely what called publishing, the activity of making information, literature, music, software, and other. Health. Effective communication is a maker of healthcare quality shared language between patients and health. Computing is the application of computer science to the analysis, synthesis, and comprehension of written and spoken language. Finance. Field includes three main subcategories: personal finance, corporate finance, and public government finance. Financial services are the processes by which consumers and businesses acquire financial goods. Cookery, the vocabulary of food and prepared dishes, and cross-linguistic similarities and different historical origins, forms, and meanings, and relationship to cultural and social variables.
Mode, a way or manner in which something occurs or is experienced, expressed, or done. The mode of discourse is the channel or medium of communication. So by the way, discourse is unwritten or spoken communication, discussion, or it is like conversation. So by this, the channel or medium is used to communicate a message affects on how the audience will receive the message. Communication also can refer to the methods we use to communicate as well as the specific tools we use in the communication process. There are three major channels of communication. First is the speech. So speech is and verbal communication, where most often when we think of this communication, it consists of two or more people speaking to each other. And one of the example of this is the public speaking. So as you see in the picture, a simple speech of communication which includes a sender, which is the speaker, a message, a receiver, which is the audience, and a channel. So second is writing. In contrast to speech, it is in textual messages. From the word itself, writing or write. One of the examples of this is memos, proposals, emails, letters, training manuals, and etc. And it is also maybe printed on paper, handwritten, or through using mobile phone. And lastly, the gesture. So it is one of the communication to convey the message. It is a form of nonverbal communication in which bodily actions communicate particular messages. Example of this is finger pointing, or it is like and blaming to someone, or you are pointing some any stuff. And also the arms waving in the air, or like saying hi or hello or goodbye to someone. Communicating through writing makes the users farther from each other. Yes, like before, the first class mails, they are using postcards, letters, large envelopes, or even small packages, and it is delivered or received within 2 to 3 days. Communicating through the internet combines the features of speaking and writing. Yes, also, by the use of technology, using mobile phones or whatsoever gadgets. Gestures are sometimes used to complement speech, and when they are used alone, it is usually the case that the person being addressed cannot use speech to communicate. Alright, so it is understandable that when you are doing gestures, since it is an non-verbal communication, it is also to convey a message, and you are not using speech to communicate. Mode.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Rosemary Sanico, and I'm the reporter of Tenor of Discourse. The tenor of discourse refers to the people taking part and the relationship between them. And the example of that is the teacher and pupil, parents and child, boss and subordinate, and etc. Participant in a discourse have a social rule, which could be temporary or permanent. Different individual may assume different linguistic domain. The tenor of discourse also determine the choice of lexical item. The choice of lexical item may reflect equality, solidarity, friendliness, and so forth. The lexical item may also be highly specialized and technical. The tenor human participant in interaction and the relationship between them, involving the status and discourse rules as well as the attitude they take towards. According to Holiday and Hassan 1985, there are three basic factors within tenor. The number one is the adjunctive tenor. It means the institutional or not rule of participants, such as the doctor to patient, teacher to student, and so forth. Number two is a social rule. It means the power of a relationship between, which may be hierarchic or non-hierarchic. It also includes expert novice and convert social status and also the gender or etc. The number three is a social distance, or it means the amount or nature of contact the participant may have, which range from minimal or maximal. When we say minimal, when you are in the circle of your friends, and when we say maximal, when you are in a formal party or a formal setting like Example is when you are in school, of course, you need to be formal in front of the teachers. But of course, these are the tenor exists and client as be represented here. The number one is the adjective. Adjective is institution, and there are two parts, which is the non-institutional and institutional. And the number two is a social rule, which is the power, and have also a two parts, which is the non-heroic or heroic. And the number three is a social distance, which is the contact. And there are also have a two parts, which is maximal and minimal. But of course, please take note, when we say tenor, it's all about the relationship between the speaker to listener and the writer to reader, and how the speaker conveyed the message to the listener and how the writer conveyed the message to the reader. And that's all. Thank you for listening, and I hope you learned something.
Varieties according to subject matter. What is variety? Near the quality or state of being different or diverse. Refers to any variant of language which can be sufficiently delimited from one another. Language variety also refers to various forms of language triggered by social, historical, special, or a combination of these factors. It may change from one region to region, from one social class to another, as well as situation to situation. What is subject matter? A topic dealt with or the subject represented in the debate, exposition, or work of art. What is varieties according to subject matters? When discussing different subject matters, or we're engaged in different activities, we use in different ways to reflect the subject matters or the activity we're engaged in. Example, a discourse between a teacher and student. It refers to the language the teacher used to communicate with each other in the classroom by talking or conversation each other, as well as the doctor and the patient, and family to friends. Register as a variety of language corresponding to a variety of situation, with situation interpreted by means of conceptual framework, using term field, the subject matter of the discourse, tenor, the participants and their relationship, and mood, the channel of communication either spoken or written, by Holiday 1985. Vary from restricted language in which the range of discourse is less concentrated. There are three working categories in the register: the formal, neutral, and informal. In the informal is conversationally and appropriate when writing to friends and people you know well. Example, personal emails, phone texts, friendly letters, most blog, and diaries. In the formal is more appropriate for personal writing and letters to boss or a stranger. Is in person, meaning is not written for a specific person and without emotion. Example, business letter and letters of complaint. And that's all for the varieties according to subject matter.
Unpleasant afternoon, classmates, especially to you, sir. Good afternoon. By the way, I am really RHEALY, your reporter. My topic is all about varieties according to attitude. Our attitude to what we are doing also determines our language. The way we use language influences others, and language attitudes are opinions, ideas, and prejudices that speakers have with respect to a language. For example, it is often said that in order to learn a language, it often helps to have a positive attitude towards that language. For instance, we are recognized in formal and formal situation, and we try to reflect the situation and our language use. Informal situation is that familiarity, therefore the attitude of language users is warm and relaxed. It exists between friends and acquaintances. Informal situation is one which is relaxed and friendly and not very serious or official. Informal allows the use of non-standard English forms, colloquial vocabulary, and typically shorter sentence structures. Informal is used in everyday conversations and in personal letters. Formal situation is that unfamiliarity. Therefore, the attitude is impersonal. Speakers are polite in their choice of language. Formal is characterized by the use of standard English, more complex sentence structures, infrequent use of personal pronouns, and lack of colloquial or slang terms. Is in situations that are serious or that involve people we don't know well. The grammar is more complex and sentences are generally longer. Here's the example of formal situation. We regret to inform you that the delivery will be delayed due to adverse weather conditions. While informal, sorry, but the delivery will be late because of the weather. Here's another example of formal situation. I am afraid your child is experiencing difficulty, while informal, your kid is making trouble. So the difference between formal and informal situation, the formal does not use colloquialism, constructions, or first-person pronouns, such as I or we, while the informal is more casual and spontaneous. It is used when communicating with friends or family, either in writing or in conversations. The last but not the least, the neutral situation, which is neither formal nor informal. The attitude here is equally neutral. Neutral is non-emotional and sticks to facts, not taking part or giving assistance in a dispute or war between others. Neutrality is the tendency not to side in a conflict. In colloquial use, neutral can be synonymous with unbiased. A neutral person can also be well informed on a subject and therefore need not be ignorant. It is not favoring.
Our next topic is all about style. So what is style, by the way? Okay, the term style has different applications to different people. However, for us as language specialists, style simply refers to how individuals use language to reflect their unique environment. So we or people are always motivated, either consciously or unconsciously, on the choices we make within the linguistic system we operate in. So these choices have a profound impact on the way a text is structured and interpreted. So according to Holiday 1994, so views language as being used to represent what goes on in the physical and abstract world. So he also says that this way of using language fulfills the experiential function of language. So the experiential function of language is an important marker of style. Okay, stylistics. So stylistics, it is the study of style in language. So according to Wikipedia Dictionary, stylistics is the study of varieties of language whose properties position that language in context. So for example, the language of advertising, politics, religion, individual authors, and etc., or the language of a period of time. So it all belongs in a particular situation. So in other words, they all have place or places. Next, Linguists look at style in the language of writers of prose, poems, and drama. So the perspective through which a writer tells a story is an important stylistic dimension. Okay, for instance, a story may be told in a first person, making the narrator, so also a character whose actions and events can be shared by the reader of the story. So it may also be narrated in the third person by an invisible narrator, so who facilitates access of the readers to the thoughts and actions of the characters. So this is generally referred to in stylistics as point of view. So again, it is generally referred to in stylistics as point of view.
Other features of stylex include the use of dialogue, where the dialogue is conversation between two or more people either in book, play, or a movie. Including regional accents and people's dialects, where the accent it is a pronunciation of a language, and the dialects is a form of a language which to specific region or social group. Dialect it is a depend on what place you belong. Like me, I came from Mandaya tribe. So I'm currently living at Barangay del Pilar. So the dialect use of Barangay del Pilar is Bisaya. So for able to them to understand me, so I need to speak in Bisaya. Descriptive language, the use of grammar such as the active voice or passive voice, the distribution of sentence lengths, the use of particular language registers, and etc. Where sentence lengths refers to the number of words in a sentence. It's either difficult or easy. And language register is the level of formality with or which you speak. Like, for example, Anna and Rose are both businessmen. So, they have a conference business. So, they need talk formal language because it is a formal event. The concept of style is closely related to register, as a style could be formal, informal, or plain. It could be described in other ways as a frozen, humorous, ironic, poetic, literary, etc. Gaines and Redman, 1986, noted that the lexical rather items may be similar in a conceptual meaning but differ in style as can be seen in the following items. Children, it is a neutral. Offspring, it is a formal. Nippers, it is a colloquial, humorous. Kids, it is colloquial. Brats, it is colloquial or derogatory. When studying style in language, we can also look at the principles of stylistic analysis. Okay. These include textual cohesion and coherence, where cohesion, the action of fact, and the coherence is the quality of being logical and consistent. Modality. Modality is the harmony of the language, because also language have a harmony. Transitivity. Okay. Transitivity is property of verbs. Speech act analysis. Speech act analysis is how words are used not only in present information but also to carry out the action. The discoursal representation of speech and thought, face and politeness, where the discourse
Good day, everyone. I am CRISTELLE and I am in charge to discuss the lesson 3.2, which is the style in writing. So, the previous reporter has just defined what the style in linguistics means, which can be simply defined as the way a writer writes. It is the technique that an individual author uses in his writing, and those who study style are called stylisticians. So, stylisticians look at how speech and thought are represented in writing. This way, they examine the methods used by writers for transcribing the speech and thoughts of the imagined or real characters. In many ways, stylistics is an interdisciplinarity study of textual interpretations using both language comprehension and an understanding of social dynamics. So, in particular, stylisticians require an extensive knowledge of language to explore. Like in a drama, the way the dialogue is ordered is very important because we need to look at the type of interaction taking place between the characters and between the author and the reader. We can also examine the structure of the conversational discourse, like how turns are taken and other discourse features such as interruption, elicitation of responses, and etc. Style in writing can be studied from different perspectives. That is, when one is looking at the style of a writer, we could mean different things. The language of the writer is the focus, and the basic levels of language can be identified and analyzed in any written text. For instance, the clausal and sentence structure of the syntax, the shape of the language on the page for graphology, the word and the structure of the constituent for morphology, the vocabulary used in loxology, the meaning of words and sentence for semantics, and many more. So, as you all observed, all the mentioned examples of levels of language will be and is already discussed in our Introduction to Linguistics subject. It is related to our language, culture, and society subject because the connection of the two is tightly anchored and deeply rooted. Language performs various functions in the society, and the society thus the same way. Okay, let's furthermore explore what style of writing is. So there are two elements of any writing style. First we have is the voice. Voice is the personality you take on in your writing. It is the point of view through which you're telling a story. For example, narrative discourse may be analyzed by looking at how it is told, the point of view as discussed in the last section. One can also look at the way meanings are encoded in the clauses by looking at the actions, the participants, and the circumstances associated with the action. The second one is the tone, which is identified by the attitude that a piece of writing conveys. Writers create tone through elements like word choice, sentence structure, and grammar. So, tone is expressed by your use of syntax, your point of view, your diction, and the level of formality in your writing. The tone can also change very quickly or may remain the same throughout the story or a text. Now let's go to the types of writing styles, which has four main types, namely persuasive, narrative, expository, and descriptive. So it was definitely true that your audience and writing purpose will determine your writing style. So in this lesson, we'll briefly explore the defining features of the mentioned writing styles. First, we have the persuasive writing. For this writing style, the writer is trying to convince the reader of the validity of a certain position or argument. Persuasive writing includes the writer's opinions and provides justifications and evidence to support their claims. So, when you're trying to persuade the reader to think a certain way or do a certain thing, you'll use persuasive writing to try to convince them. Your end goal could be to get the reader to purchase something you're selling, give you a job, or simply agree with your opinion on a topic. So, the examples here are advertisements, cover letters, opinion articles or letters to the editor, letters of recommendation, reviews of book, movies, restaurants, etc., and a letter to a politician. Next, for the second type of writing styles, we have the narrative writing. Often seen in longer writing samples, the purpose of this writing style is to share information in the context of a story. Narratives should include characters, conflicts, and settings. As we all know, narrative writing is the most common writing style for fiction, although nonfiction can be narrative writing as long as its focus is on characters, what they do, and what happens to them. So the examples are novels, biography or autobiography, poetry, short stories, journals, or diaries. The third writing style we have is the expository writing. This type of writing is used to explain a concept and share information with a broader audience. Expository writing provides evidence, statistics, or results and focuses on the facts of a certain topic. This type is not meant to express opinions. So writers use the expository style when they are trying to explain a concept. Expository writing is fact-based and doesn't include the author's opinions or backgrounds, unlike the persuasive type of writing. So it's basically giving facts from the writer to the reader. Examples are newspaper articles, academic journals, business memos, manuals for electronics, textbooks, recipes, how-to books, and articles. And because expository writing is focused on facts without any unnecessary details or stories, the writing can sometimes feel dense and dry to read. The last writing style is the descriptive type of writing. This type of writing is used to depict imagery to create a clear picture in the mind of the reader. This method helps the readers become more connected to the writing by appealing to their senses. So, descriptive writing employs literary techniques such as similes, metaphors, allegory, etc., to engage the audience. So, in descriptive writing, the author does not just tell the reader what was seen, felt, tasted, smelled, or heard. Rather, the author describes something from their own experience and, through careful choice of words and phrasing, make it seem real. Thus, descriptive writing is vivid, colorful, and detailed. The examples here are journals or diaries, poetry, fiction passages that describe something, and etc. But now, what if you're unsure of a work's writing style? If you're reading a piece of writing and unsure of its main writing style, how can you figure which style is it? Well, the best method is to think about the purpose or main idea of the writing. For each of the four main writing styles has a specific purpose. For the descriptive, to describe things. For expository, to give facts. for narrative to tell a story, and for the persuasive is to convince the reader about something. So if you're writing a piece of writing, the key to knowing when and how to use these main styles, is mostly about being aware of what you want to convey to your reader. And here's the key takeaways of my topic. A writing style is an author's unique way of communicating with words. An author creates a style with a voice or personality and overall tone that they apply to their text. And a writer's style can change depending on the type of writing they're doing, who they are writing for, and their target audience. Aside from the copy of a report that Sir Jett gave us, here's my online sources to further elaborate my topic. So I think that would be all. Thank you so much everyone for listening. Have a good day and please keep safe.
Speech style. What is speech style? Speech style is a variation of speech which is used when people communicate with other people. Speech style is the forms of the language which the speaker uses, and it depends on the degree of formality. There are 3 types of speech style. These types are informative speech style, persuasive speech style, and special occasion speech style. What is informative speech style? The main types of informative speech style include definition, descriptive, explanatory, and demonstrative. A definition speech explains the meaning, theory, or philosophy of a specific topic that the audience likely does not know much about. What is descriptive speech? A descriptive speech uses lots of descriptive elements to help listeners create a picture in their mind. Descriptive speeches will try and get people to feel as though they can see a person, place, or a thing. When you are writing or delivering a descriptive speech, the speaker must have a clear understanding of what they want the audience to know. What is explanatory speech? An explanatory speech helps to explain something to the listeners. An explanatory speech will explain how or something happened the way it did. A very popular type of explanatory speech is one which explains things about the history or culture and how things came to be. Explanatory speeches are designed to help clear up any confusion listeners might have about a particular subject or topic. What is demonstrative speech? A demonstrative speech is when the speaker will demonstrate how something is done. This is where you can teach an audience how to complete a science experiment or change a window in a house. When conducting a demonstrative speech, you must stop at each step and explain every detail. What is persuasive speech style? A persuasive speech style is a specific type of speech in which the speaker has the goal of convincing the audience to accept his or her point of view. The speech is arranged in such a way as to hopefully cause the audience to accept all or part of the expressed view. What is special occasion speech style? In broad terms, a special occasion speech is a speech designed to address and engage the context and audience's emotions on a specific occasion. Like informative or persuasive speeches, special occasion speeches should communicate a clear message, but the manner of speaking used is typically different.